here for the final day of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series for 2024. We're here at Run 1 Raceway in Goulburn, just over 2 hours, really southwest of Sydney. Mel and Price, you join us again for this weekend. We've got some fantastic racing coming your way today.
Yeah, yesterday was fantastic, but today it all comes down to today. All the championships are decided. All of these trophies in the background here, we'll be handing them over to very happy people this afternoon.
For Legend Cars Australia, not only is the championship round, it's also the Australian title. So they've got two things to fight for this weekend. Of course, we've got the Formula RX8 in their inaugural year, so that's very exciting because that's going to go down to the wire between two people. And, of course, the TA2 muscle cars. Well, Josh Haynes, he extended that lead just a little bit yesterday, but Brad Gartner has been very quick.
Yeah, difficult day yesterday for Brad. You know, it's still close. It's still not impossible, but Josh's lead is pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's plenty going on yesterday we saw with this circuit because we've never raced here. So there's a few things starting to open up. A little bit of dirt comes off the corners as they go over those curbs. So that was starting to cloud the racetrack just a little bit as well. We had that incident on lap 1 where we saw Aaron Prosser just go wide and it really pulled the car out to the right-hand side. He got sideways, came back into traffic. Unfortunately, Danny Reedy's had to do a lot of work overnight to get that car back out.
Yeah, I had a look at that car this morning. There's quite a bit of damage. The jack ramp's bent, the exhaust was bent, the panels, some of them just crumbled like foil, but pleased to say that he'll be back on track today, which is good.
Yeah, they were working through the paddock trying to find a welder last night, and they did get that done. So great to see that Danny Reedy and the number 5 will be back out there. Mark Crutcher, well, he had an exciting time because Brad Gartner had a little bit of an issue off the start where it didn't seem to select the gear, and he went back quite a number of places. And Mark Crutcher did a fantastic job to hold out Brad Gartner.
There was no way he was letting him through, was it? He tried and tried and tried, and that was actually a really good race between those three.
Lots of great stories throughout the paddock. The Formula RX8s, we see Brock Payne, he's come out of so far with 12 points in front today over Rob Bowden. Now, they actually lent him a clutch last night because they thought that's what they'd done to Rob Bowden's car. They found out that isn't the case, a little bit of oil that they've cleaned up overnight and managed to put the old clutch back in. But what a great story that amongst the two top championship contenders, they're lending parts to each other.
Yeah, and you know, for them to they've both had issues this weekend as well, which just adds to the excitement of who's going to win.
Well, I'll tell you what, and Legend Cars Australia, I mean, to have two championships up for grabs, the Australian title as well as the championship, Ryan Pring at the moment, though, is in the hot seat for both of those.
Yes, he might end up with a trophy in each hand, the way it's looking at the moment. But, you know, difficult. He said he's focusing on the championship, but I'm sure, you know, if it comes to the crunch at the end, that other trophy will be in his mind as well.
Well, plenty going on in October. Not only we've had the last 2 rounds of the championship for the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series, also it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we've had some great support here from AASA and the Hi-Tec Oils. We had a chat about that earlier this weekend. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we love supporting things like this at the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series and AASA. Mel, it's a great association to get behind. It's personally touched you. Tell us about it.
Yeah, of course, very close to my heart. BCNA I've been supporting for a while. Since my own journey, and since then my mum as well. But 1 in 7 people are affected by breast cancer, so I'm sure everybody knows somebody or has, you know, got their own experience with it. So very grateful for AASA to help support me. Also, you'll see this weekend all of the competitors, the whole motorsport community have been fantastic. Everybody in every category's got these stickers here on their car. You can scan the QR code, it takes you to my donation page. So, you know, please reach out there and show your support. Fantastic cause.
Well, we all know someone who's been touched by the big C word, so if you can get behind it, please do, and support Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Yeah, great to support the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, of course, very close to your heart as well, Mel. So we'll want to keep supporting that throughout the month of October. I know it's getting right to the end, but great to have that support from AASA and the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. Now, we've spoken about, obviously, Formula RX8, as well as, of course, our Legend Cars Australia. We touched on the TA2 muscle cars, but there's really 3 of these trophies behind us up for grabs this weekend, as well as a $5,000 championship ring. But it's not all about that overall champion. It's also what the Serco Masterclass, which is the TA2 muscle car ring. So those that are competing over the age of 50 years old. At the moment, Mark Crutcher's leading that, and he's got a pretty big smile on his face. And I think he's got one hand firmly on that trophy. He doesn't want to give it up.
Yeah, look, he can obviously win both of them, but yeah, he's looking very much like he's going to win the Masters, and of course we've got the Rookie of the Year trophy as well as the overall champion. So,
and as well as that, we've got the Rookie Award as well. Now, we've had quite a few people come in there. There's been Domain Ramsey. I mean, Robbie Farr's come in right at the end. But the Speedway guys have taken over, and Danny Reedy at the moment is leading those points for Rookie of the Year.
And yeah, that's why it's so good. I think, you know, obviously had quite a lot of damage yesterday, but he's back on track today and hopefully he'll walk away with a trophy.
Well, there's going to be lots to give away this afternoon. Championships will be decided here at the 6th and final round of the Hi-Tec All Super Series. Let's get racing underway today with our Legend Cars Australia.
Thank you, Matt and Mel. So on track this time this morning, a little bit of cloud cover for the first time this weekend over the top of the racetrack. So it wasn't quite as cold as it was yesterday morning with clear skies, but the forecast here at One Raceway in Goulburn is for potentially 22 degrees. Forecast yesterday was 19, and I think it actually eclipsed that out here yesterday. So track conditions probably not an awful lot different. The UV will be down with this little bit of cloud cover, so pretty much perfect conditions here for the Legend Cars Australia. This is their third race of the weekend, which you hear on the live stream this morning. I think 25 cars to take the green here for this one. Story of the weekend this weekend, Robert Hogan and Ryan Pring have been pretty much going at it hammer and tong across the class. So Ryan Pring looking to maintain the championship lead on board one of our camera cars. This is Asker Sendel in the number 55. We've got Brad Goodridge also carrying it on board in the 97. So this will be the reverse top 10 as well. So Pring and Hogan will be starting out of the 5th row. Got the 93 of Blake Hayden off the front row, alongside him the 160 of Bruce Duckworth. Duckworth having a few little issues yesterday, actually popped out this morning. They had some discretionary laps for some of the cars that had issues on day number 1. We're about to go green here at One Raceway, race 3 for the Legend Cars Australia as they charge down into turn number 1. Ryan Pring trying to get that outside line to work. Got to be careful out there off the race starts, because from here is where it starts to funnel down. This is where we saw the incident in the TA2s yesterday. Ryan Pring is already up into the 5th position, with Morgan just up ahead in the red number 16. So Pring made that outside line work absolutely perfectly on board with Asker Sendel. He's running in the 4th position. That's Morgan up ahead. Morgan got a very, very good start as well. Joined back here in commentary by somewhat out of breath Matt Kavanagh. Welcome back, Matty. That was a good start. Ryan Pring found the high line off that one, went straight to the top and went from 10th to 5th in the opening 3 corners.
Well, did you have a little bit of a look at who was in his car during a little bit of warm-ups earlier today? It was someone called Little Lockie Ward, so he's gone out in that 333. That's all going, and it was a bit of just a chance, I think, for Lockie to see a track that he's probably going to get a chance to race on for quite some time, because he's heading over to the States for a little bit of a life experience. So Ryan Pring, you'll be getting a bit of feedback, of course, reverse grid start for this one, and have a look at this.
Brad Goodridge on board, going for the race lead. Hayden out in front from the Nita Holmes 93. Morgan to their outside, 3 wide on the approach to turn number 1. And Pring's going to sneak down the inside of Morgan. He's gone from 10th to potentially the lead here if he can clear the 93 of Blake Hayden. And he's to the outside, and Pring has gone 10th to 1st in a lap and a quarter.
That is a massive move from him. He is on a high this weekend.
Contact Morgan, Finnegan and Goodridge. They were nose to tail, and there was a bit of a concertina effect there. They've all managed to get away with it. 3 wide down into turn number 8. Back on board with Goodridge.
Let's have a look. Can he get it done here? Goodridge. Just having a look in front. Morgan just in front, the number 16. But we head a little bit further down. There we go. Morgan just. The reverse grid start here for race number 3 always changes things up. And going down talking to Dylan Thomas earlier, now he had a wheel fall off here, so it'll come loose where the car had to come into the pits. He goes, I'm not going to be happy unless I'm 10th, but we've got to spin down on turn 13. Something's happened down there. It was one of the white cars. We're just trying to see whether it's someone that we can notice. Simpson, that is in the 29, who's had an off somewhere else. That is a little bit further back.
That's a 10 actually. That's before that last sequence of corners. So just trying to figure out who's disappearing down the order with one of those white cars. Might have been Bradley in the 72, but out in front. So Goodridge chasing down Pring. Pring with a 2.5 second advantage, and he's disappearing out in front here, Matt.
Well, this little battle they've got on for second at the moment has been a real advantage to Ryan Pring, hasn't he? Asker Sendel in the mix as well, and we know how quick he's been in the 55, but he's got to hold on to it because he's got Hayden Williams behind him. I saw a little bit of tyre smoke there, and sideways for Goodridge. Look at him having to oversteer these cars. They are sliding all over one raceway. It's Mark Duckworth in the 160 now, holding into that 7. Oh, he's gone up to 6th position over Timmy Reed.
Now, Finnegan's dropped out of that battle. Where has Billy Finnegan gone? Listen to the little mankangs howling through the carousel, or the bowl, whatever we're calling it this weekend.
Finnegan's dropped right off. Now, I wonder, they have been following up with some issues on the car this weekend, and they've been trying some things there just to settle it down at the moment, so let's wait and find out. Hayden Williams on the outside down the back there. I'm just trying to see if he's coming around Asker Sendel. No, he might not be, actually. He might be Timmy Reed in front of him. Asker Sendel's all the way up into fourth now as we get on board with him. That's a massive improvement right behind Scotty Morgan. You know, he's got the bright red on the side of the car, and you can't miss him as a bit of dirt gets flicked up. Sendel, does he look for a moment to pass the young gun? Has he got the patience for that moment to happen? Because if he applies the blowtorch, Scotty Morgan might just make a small error.
Yeah, you try and do it at the wrong place, and you do probably need a little element of patience in a couple of places around here. But Scott Morgan having his best run of the weekend. Big chase there by Asker Sendel. So definitely Billy Finnegan has dropped down the order out of this top 6 battle. He was one of those that's been in the mix right throughout the weekend, caught up quickly with Billy this morning, and actually found out he does a bit of brisker Formula 1 and Formula 2 stock racing in the UK. So he's got a stock car racing background over there, and he's been over there back in the UK recently racing as well. So that was pretty cool.
We're going to go down the main straight. Signals are going out to the drivers.
Lots of cheerleaders on the wall here at One Raceway for the Legends teams. Fastest on track's actually Robert Hogan.
Sendel's just gone by the 55 now, up into third position, so he's on a chance here to get himself on a podium. We're just under halfway through this race 3 here for the Legend Cars Australia, of course. The Simpson Tarache, great sponsors. They're here this weekend as well with plenty of products.
I'm just wondering if that wasn't Robert Hogan facing the wrong direction in that last corner, because he's dropped down to 12th. He's one of the fastest on track, but he's dropped out of that top 6 battle as well, because Hogan started alongside Pring at the start of this one. So maybe a little bit more on that one later, but certainly Hogan is out of the equation for this top 6 battle right now, halfway through this third race of the weekend, on board with Asker Sendel.
They're getting close to lap records here too for Ryan Pring. A 107.18, so a 107.15 yesterday, so they are within hundreds of a second. As conditions here, probably a little bit more overcast today. Not that we're seeing dark clouds, it's just covering the sun a little bit, but beautiful weather out there in the sun. As Asker Sendel makes a big move down the inside, but can he pull it up as they go into turn number 3?
I think he has.
Yeah, look at the side.
Nice pass from Asker Sendel. Just 15 years of age.
Yes.
Wow.
Incredible story with Asker Sendel, isn't it? That he just decided to buy a go-kart one day, made a deal without telling the old man. And unfortunately, he's obviously said, you can't pull out in a deal, so I guess we own a go-kart and we start racing. And now he's moved on to Legend Cars Australia a few years later, and he's pretty quick behind the wheel. I think it's all about harnessing the enthusiasm of 15-year-old Scotty Morgan. Looks like the red machine's gone off in the background. I'm not quite sure if he's gone way off or not. He's gone back past Hayden Williams, though, so that's hurt him.
Yeah, Williams getting by, so that's the 4th and 5th. So Morgan ran a little bit deep under brakes into turn number 8.
Don't know who that was in the background again. Was it Hogan, or it was a white vehicle just getting 2 wheels off onto the dirt in the distance? It's not going to take him back too many places. Just slow him down a bit as you need this drive. You need the momentum, really, as you come through that bowl section. Have a look at Goodrich. He's got the run down the inside. You know, it's tit for tat at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, and gets the job done. So a little bit of a slipstream effect going on there. Not as long as, say, somewhere like the Bend or Queensland Raceway, but certainly I think Goodrich used that slipstream, tucked in behind, pulled out, and then got that run, and pretty much an identical pass like Asker Sendel did on him in the previous lap.
Look at the oversteer they're trying to correct as they come through here at the moment. And we speak to some of the more experienced racers who have raced a number of categories. They go, this has to be one of the busiest cockpits you're going to sit in.
Absolutely. I love watching the onboards with the wheel work and that going on. Ryan Pring is 6.3 seconds up the road from this battle group. Hogan's starting to go back forward. He's back up to 9th, so he's just sort of at the tail end of that picture there. As now Williams goes to work on Asker Sendel, as Goodrich has actually got away from the 55. So Williams, one of the fastest drivers on track at the moment. Hogan back in now 8th, has gone purple to the first sector, so he's definitely got some speed, but something didn't quite go to plan earlier on in this race, because he started alongside Pring and he's been working his way forward, as he was probably as far back as 13th or 14th at one stage.
Brett Hayden is on the outside of Scotty Morgan in the background. Hayden Williams now going to challenge Asker Sendel, two of the youngest drivers in the field now, going at it. They're almost wheel to wheel, aren't they?
You talked about the lap record, Rob. Hogan's just gone a 107.06 for a new lap record here at One Raceway on day 2, race 3. But he's back in 7th now, but he's on the back of this queue. He's actually in behind Morgan. So the 46 is starting to charge forward, but he's only got a couple of laps left to do it in. And he ain't going to get to Pring, who's 7.3 seconds up the road.
Have a look from second back to about 7th now. It is all bunched up, and they are in a fight. Anything can happen in these final few laps as Hayden Williams tries to take a slightly different line on Asker Sendel. Sendel just following Goodrich through this final sequence of corners. You can hear those little tyres howling as they really load up the left-hand side. Scotty Morgan under attack now from Rob Hogan, who's super fast with that recent lap record. Can he reset that once again as they are starting a new era of racing here at One Raceway? He won't match that speed again, but he's still down to the low 107s.
The Pring's just cracking out 7s every lap. The lap lead, it's now 7.5 seconds. There's the leader going through shot there now. Goodrich, Sendel and Williams side by side. Hogan up to 6, got that run on Morgan. Williams still trying to look to the inside of Asker Sendel. Goodrich now with a little bit of breathing space there in second. So this is 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. Hogan now turns his attentions onto the back of the 93 of Blake Hayne.
Have a look at Ryan Pring. He's got to be sitting out there pretty comfortable at the moment as we've only got 2 laps remaining in this race. Asker Sendel and Hayden Williams, well, that fight has locked them in now and has probably given Goodrich just a moment of relief there where you can see him open up the slightest of gaps out to about half a second.
Well, if Williams can stay with Asker Sendel there, they potentially could get back up to Goodrich, but they are now on the final lap. Ryan Pring out to 7.8 seconds. And just thinking about the rest of the championship races we've had this year, that would be one of the biggest wins this season, I reckon, on the smallest racetrack we go to.
Oh, no, was there contact there? Rob Hogan. Rob Hogan might have just nipped him there for Brett Hayne. Not quite sure if there was contact. We'll have to look at that one again, but that's very unfortunate because they were having a great battle and Rob Hogan is working super hard to get back to the pack. It may not have happened. It was just that they were both going in the corner at the same time. We know that it's been marbling up on the outside. Potentially that just spun on his own. We'll really have to have a look at that one. Brendan Hourigan, though, he's still holding on back in 8th position. You can see the number 1 on the side of that car. And will he be able to maintain that this weekend? Because we've still got a couple of races left to go and anything could happen.
Someone we haven't talked about is Dylan Thomas. I don't know that he's actually out there. I think he may be back on pit lane. So Dylan Thomas continuing with some issues. Actually stripped some wheel studs yesterday, so it might be an ongoing issue they've got as Asker Sendel got sideways into the final corner. But hey, look who takes the win, the championship leader, Ryan Pring.
Oh, and have a look at this. Oh, Hayden Williams, he's already got past Asker Sendel. Can he get Goodrich at the line? Goodrich is going to get home in the 97. Hayden Williams up to 3rd, and Asker Sendel, well, he fought hard. Ends up in 4th. Rob Hogan with a massive fight back into 5th position, followed by Scotty Morgan, Timmy Reed, Brendan Hourigan and Shane Tate. Nathan Preto, that is a fantastic job to get back up to 10th because I know he's been struggling with a little bit of horsepower in that car. He said that engine's a few seasons old and it's starting to get a little bit of wear and tear at the moment. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm going to say it's going to be, we really need to look at that turn 1 incident before we have a look at too much at the moment because anything could change depending on what happens there with our stewards. But the Legend Cars Australia Race 3, always exciting. The Simpson Thrash sponsorship behind this weekend. They're actually here at the track, which is great to see him supporting such a fantastic category. You know what I like too? Tony Ward, who has the park van here, I wondered why it drove in on bump stops because he was supporting the Speedway in Goulburn last night as well. So he's doing double duties this weekend, and I wish we'd known the Speedway was on. We would have gone.
Oh, one job. One job. I would have sat in the stands.
We're pretty excited though. Look at Legend Cars Australia here as part of the Hi-Tec All Super Series, and Ryan Pring takes a dominant win in this one in a reverse grid top 10. Benny Goodrich in 2nd, Hayden Williams 3rd, Asker Sendel 4th, and Rob Hogan in 5th. We go back to Scotty Morgan, Timmy Reed, Brendan Hourigan, Shane Tate, and Nathan Preto before Duckworth fought it out. Blake Hayne in 12th, but he was up in 6th before. So he had a moment where he spun out there. So we'll just see how that goes. As you can see, unfortunately, I don't think Dylan Thomas made it back out. And Billy Finnegan ended up with some issues there. And he's come back out on track, but probably not where we're used to seeing him with the speed he normally carries. We'll have a look at all of our officials here. The sun is out and the TA2 muscle cars on your left-hand side are getting ready to rumble very shortly for their race number 2. It's all happening for the final round of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. Let's have a look at some of those fantastic highlights.
Yeah, this might answer a couple of questions with some of the top drivers that have fallen by the wayside here. Look at Pring on the outside with this start. I sort of wondered if he could live out there, because from here now, that's where you've got to get your line into 3 and get it narrowed up. But with these little legend cars, they can go through there side by side. Pring got through to 5th, and then on the start of the second lap, again around the outside and would go through to the lead. Problems there for the 29.
Have a look at Benny Goodrich just hanging it out sideways. But look at the young guns coming through in the back. Hayden Williams, for me, worked his way back because he was starting out of position number 6 from memory. So Hayden Williams did a fantastic job in the back. He had to get past Scotty Morgan. Asker Sender was very fast too. You see he exchanged that second position with Benny Goodrich quite a few times in the 55. And we thought maybe it was just the advantage down the straight. And they were, Asker Sender would get him on one lap. And Benny Goodrich got him back on this one. But Hayden Williams managed to get past Scotty Morgan and put himself in that little fight, which slowed him down a bit. The 24 we saw go off there of Walden, who just got pushed a little bit wide, unfortunately, and that's what happens if you get a little bit out in those marbles. One car gets pushed out, the other one, unfortunately, on the outside also has to go wide.
So Ryan Pring, over 8 seconds out in front, taking the victory in the end, and the battle's behind. So this was Hayden. I just missed the start of that. Was Hogan involved in that, or did Hayden just get slightly offline and actually go around by himself? Asker Sendell had a moment there, and here's the checkered flag for Ryan Pring. Again this season, maintaining his championship lead, and at the moment putting him in the inevitable position of number 1 Australia for the Australian title this weekend as well, because he will be leading the round points.
Yes, and that's going to be one we need to watch out for as well as we start doing the calculations in the background. But let's head down to our race 3 winners with Mel.
Hayden Williams, P3G, that was a busy race and you just got him on the last lap.
Yeah, it was a really interesting race. Tried to fight back from 12th, and I'm lucky to get a podium there. Just stay consistent through the whole race and managed to get 3rd in the race.
The reverse grid race is good fun, isn't it?
Yes, really fun. It shakes the field up a bit and brings out some driver in everyone.
Well done. Okay, P2, Ben Goodrich, well done.
Thank you. Oh, it was a very hard race out there. Managed to get up to the front on the start and managed to hold it for the rest of the race.
You look a bit pooped.
Yeah, it sure is hard work out there. They sure make you work for it.
Is the track getting grippier and grippier as we go by?
Yeah, it sure is. It's making it harder and it's working the old arms out a little bit.
You've got all these teenagers to compete with.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit harder. They're showing their youth and a bit easier for them.
Great job. Okay, what a great drive. Our winner, championship leader, Ryan Pring.
Thank you very much. That was an amazing race. Just getting the best start I could and going around the outside to get as many cars as possible and make my way to the lead as soon as possible.
Yeah, you just rounded them up and bolted.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I just flew past them.
Yeah, you had a massive lead, which we don't normally see in this category, so great start to the day.
Thank you very much.
Oh, Ryan Pring, you can see the nerves are building. I mean, he's already had an Australian title, but imagine clinching an Australian title and an Aussie and a championship all in one meet. It'd be a fantastic feat. Our TA2 muscle cars are getting warmed up now. The cylinders are firing. Let's check out a hot lap around here at One Raceway in one of these fantastic cars.
G'day guys, Hayden Jackson here, giving you a lap around One Raceway. Coming onto the main straight here, plucking 3rd gear. Coming across the start-finish line into 4th gear, sweeping across into turn 1. On the brakes at the kink, back down to 3rd gear. Breezing the apex here, starting to pick up the throttle slowly. As we hit this 2nd apex, you're hard back on the throttle, watch the slide. Coming into turn 4 here, back on the picks, over the curb, back down to 2nd. Breezing on the throttle on the exit of turn 5 here, and then down into 6, slight touch of the brake. Hard on the throttle now, going through turn 7, sort of breezing on that brake. Hard on the throttle again through 8, hard on the picks into 9, watch out for that inside locking. Slow sweeper here, it's a gradual throttle on. And then as you're coming up here, you're getting ready for turn 10, it's just a tab of the brake and then hitting that curb. Hard on the throttle, on the apex and on the outside. And then sweep across to the right for turn 11. Watch that slide. Going through this newly revised turn 12 and 13, waiting for that long apex, hard on the throttle now, smash the curb on the exit, and that's a lap of One Raceway.
Well, Hayden Jackson, he's done a lot of driver training in his past up there in Newcastle as well, and he's taught a lot of young guys how to get behind the wheel, and just taking us for a lap here of the revamped Run Raceway, which is slightly different to the Wakefield Park layout. But here we go, your starting grid for race number 2 of the TFA Tyre TA2 Muscle Car Series. Framed by Hi-Tec Steel Framing, and Josh Haynes dominant yesterday. And big news is Brad Gardner had a shocking start.
Yeah, they've replaced the clutch overnight, so Gardner will come out of position 6. Sam Bates out of 2, fantastic drive. Likewise, Zach Lascialpo out of position 3. And obviously with that incident in turn number 1, we've got a couple of them starting a little bit further back, notably Danny Reedy and Aaron Prosser. I know Prosser's been out this morning for a discretionary check with the car just to make sure everything's all right. I didn't see if Danny Reedy had gone out or not, because that car actually sustained a bit of chassis damage, which they got repaired overnight. A lot of body damage and that. There was actually quite a bit going on with the Reedy machine. Left front corner replacement effectively for the Prosser car with the contact left front corner to right front with Reedy's thing.
So yeah, there's lots of damage to that one lap incident, which brought out the safety car as well. Let's though have a look at what they're all fighting for this weekend in the championship. The TA2 Muscle Car Championship all comes down to the 6th and final round. 3 drivers are in contention of taking it out and raising the championship trophy. Who will leave the final round with the championship ring and become the 2024 TA2 Muscle Car Champion? Well, there's the 3 faces that can take away the championship this weekend. Graham Cheney, unfortunately, in the fight, but not here as he's supporting his son up on the Gold Coast in the 86 racing. There you go. Speedway legend Robbie Farr joined us for the last couple of races here this season, and great to have him back in the Hi-Tec Oils Camaro once again, all thanks to Falcon Diesel. And look, wasn't great for him yesterday. He ran into his mate, unfortunately, with a cloud of dust. It's sort of like NASCAR-esque, wasn't it, as the dust went up instead of the tyre smoke. And how did they describe it? With a little dink?
Yeah, no, it was I said, how hard did you hit Reedy? And Reedy was standing next to him, and they both went ding.
Yeah, it was the slightest bit of contact.
It actually did enough damage to bend some of the body supports inside the cockpit, so it actually was a bit harder than we thought. But yeah, when you're trying to stop 1,300 odd kilo, 1,250 kilos, yeah, even with a little dink, it's enough to make a little bit of a mess.
Brad Gardner, well, he was super fast yesterday, but the question we've all got in the back of our mind is tyre wear, and we know how much those left rear hand tyres have been getting blistered up, and they've been wearing him out as they push around. They load up that side of the car for almost half of the lap out there. So yesterday he was pushing super hard, and there's not a wide track for a lot of overtaking, especially with the marbling on the outside. So you step out in that dirty line, the cars get a little bit loose. So he was super aggressive yesterday after that start where it looked like he missed a gear, and they've changed the clutch overnight. So we'll just wait and find out whether he may have hurt the tyre bank. Only allowed 6 brand new Hoosiers for this weekend.
Yeah, a lot of it's to do with lines. Yesterday was a lot hotter than the forecast was. It was definitely over 19 degrees, and it was pretty sunny all day, so the UV was way up too. So a lot of the guys I spoke to last night are sort of working on changing their lines. In some cases, you don't have that opportunity if you're battling with someone, and if you're offline, you're pretty much trying to hold on to the thing to keep it on the racetrack. So, yeah, Gardner, they replaced the clutch. So it was a similar incident, Matt, if we refer back to Calder Park, where he missed one of the starts. He literally could not engage first to second, and it was only off the starts and restarts. Rest of the lap, it's perfectly fine. So they went through it last night. They've replaced the clutch, and they've been out this morning with a bit of a practice run just to make sure everything was all good to go.
Now can Sammy Bates, who's only been behind the wheel a couple of times now, one of those was Adelaide where unfortunately didn't get a lot of time behind the wheel, some damage on the car, can he outshine Josh Haynes, the man of steel, who's fighting for a championship at the moment? Look at Mark Crutcher in the background. He is ready to go alongside Zach Lascialpo. That one's going to be a fantastic battle. Hayden Jackson, though, alongside Brad Gardner, and we saw them exchange, well, almost some panel work yesterday as they fought out for position as well. So this one's going to be a fantastic start here. The war is underway at One Raceway. Let's have a look at how they go into turn number 1, far at the rear of the field, but let's have a look further up. Josh Haynes gets a Herzog Steel Mustang into P1. Brad Gardner is wide on the outside, contact with Barr, and Hayden Jackson, who seems to have a little bit of a slow start there at the moment. That was just a little bit of touch and go at the moment. Oh,
The Shelpo's gone around. I was just about to say, can we get through the first 3 or 4 corners unscathed? And no. So the Shelpo's gone around. That was actually really, really busy. Gardner had gone to the outside at 2. He was actually off track. Farr got into the back of Jackson.
Well, now I think that's Aaron Prosser in front of him, is it? So is the yellows going to come out? Can LaSharpo get that going? If that was Mark Crutcher, he'd be on the radio right now trying to restart that car.
He had a spin in practice on Friday across the track out of the last corner and was trying to get the car restarted until he figured out he was actually hitting the radio button. Yeah, not ideal.
Have a look at Gardner, though. Super aggressive, already up into third, and he is alongside Sam Bates. And how much will Bates push this? Gardner out on the dirt once again. He's used to being there. Look what it shows up on the screen. Well, he's flicking a lot of dirt over the track yesterday, so he won't be enjoying being out there in that dirt at the moment. And look at the 22 now. Can he keep the tyres under this car, though? They've got 15 laps to try and maintain this pace. Josh Haynes now with a 1.4 second lead. LaSharpo is still stuck there in the Tempest Solutions 21, and what will race control do about that?
Yeah, I thought he'd actually got the thing back up and running. So Haynes out in front, and the battle we've been looking forward to all weekend potentially can happen here. My understanding is Haynes finishes this race. It should be enough points with 2 more races to go to claim the championship.
Oh, well, I'm going to go here with the points I've got on. We've got 114 points difference between him and Brad Gardner. 60 points around. He's got to catch up 120. It's going to be tough. Here we go. Replay of what just happened there. Oh, Crutcher and LaSharpo just make wheel-to-wheel contact there. LaSharpo, unfortunately, spins out.
That was just awkward more than anything, because it was pretty much side by side, whether they've maybe locked wheels, because there wasn't sort of too much deviation going in there. Just see if there's any damage down the right-hand side of Crutcher's car. So Jackson sort of recovering after that early little bit of contact from behind from Robbie Farr. Haynes, Gardner, Bates, Crutcher, Jackson, Prosser. Prosser from the rear of the field up into the 6th position as that's Gardner on Sam Bates.
Oh, no, that's going to be the 24. Oh, yeah, no, it is Sam Bates. So Sam Bates must have fought back there at some point to get past.
Oh, Crutcher's off. Crutcher is off in the 4 out of the 4th position. Man, this is all going on.
Oh, it's plenty of work. And look at the dirt, though. This is what they're not sure about this when they come around a corner. And a lot of that dirt and dust we saw coming across the track yesterday in other categories really caught the drivers unaware as they came around for the following lap. So it's going to get a little bit slippery out there if they're going to push the limits at the moment. Let's see how Sam Bates goes, because he has been super quick on a solo run. Now, he's in race pace. Yesterday it was probably, he had Josh Haynes open up a gap in front of him. He sort of had Zach LaSharpo covered as well. So he ran around on his own yesterday, got very familiarised with the track and what the car wants to do, but now he's got Brad Gardner, who's just made the move past him. And what can he do with the 22? Because if Brad Gardner keeps punishing that rear left, it's likely in the final few laps of this race we could see that car sliding around. Oh, no, we're going to see it right now already.
Absolutely, it's sliding around. I wonder on that previous lap, Matt, if Sam Bates actually got an opportunity to get back ahead of Gardner, who may have made a small mistake somewhere, because definitely we saw it looked like Gardner had to get back past Bates after he'd already made that past the lap earlier. So while this is happening, Josh Haynes is just out front with a big grin on his face. He's 3.2 seconds up the road already. I thought Gardner was going to sort of try and chase him down. We have talked about it again, most of over the rounds. As we go to a replay here, we'll come back to it. And, oh yeah, Crutcher's just done it by himself. Oh, Mark. Unfortunately,
after all that good work yesterday.
Yeah, like just, man, he had the elbows up and trying to hold off Gardner and Jackson. It was really, really good racing. Coming back to what we were just about to talk about with tyres, you almost have to concede a race where you know you're not going to be so good on which tyre you've got out of the 6 for the weekend to last over 4 races and qualifying. So look, that might be the case, but yeah, Brad's definitely moving around the racetrack at the moment, but it's selecting gears, which it wasn't doing yesterday.
In wet conditions, Brad Gardner's been very impressive here. Maybe that is just the setup that he likes in the car. Sometimes, you know, drivers prefer a loose car and it's a little faster as they slide around. But yeah, we're all watching that left-hand rear as we walk down the pits every time. I think every team is watching out for it at the moment. Josh Haynes, he just needs to keep stringing these laps together at the moment. It's only a 1:01.4. And we say only because we saw them in the 59s and the low 1 minute mark, you know, around the 1 minute flat mark when it came to race pace yesterday. So we just backed off a little bit there, and I potentially can see that could be some tyre conservation as we go into the final race later on today, because we've got a few more laps to get through.
Yeah, Haynes set the track record yesterday in race conditions at a 1:00.73, so they're about 5/10 off that at the moment. And look, Haynes has got the ability to cruise. Gardner's just done the fastest lap at a 1:00.90, so he's within 2/10 of the lap record. So maybe now just the tyres started to come on for him as we watch this battle group for 6th, 7th and 8th with Farr, Coulter and Reedy.
So Coulter in the Terps Tippers entry, just having a look for any sort of gap to get past the Hi-Tec girls, number 7 of Robbie Farr. And great to see Danny Reedy back in the Desert Palms entry after that overnight repair. And the family team, really, it's his brother-in-law down there and his mates getting that car repaired. I mean, when you talk about sprint car guys, they're used to rebuilding cars overnight, but they're probably a little bit easier to work on. And the off-the-shelf parts that they change out, as I think Reedy might have gone a little bit wide in the background there, unfortunately. But great to have Michael Coulter back here this weekend.
Michael did a really good job in race 1, I thought. He was a little bit unhappy where he ended up, but like he wasn't actually too far off that battle group with the likes of Crutcher, Gardner and Hayden Jackson. So he's probably being a little bit too hard on himself as he takes a little shortcut there, and Reedy did exactly the same thing. With the Reedy rebuild, a lot of the parts were bolt-on stuff that you wouldn't normally see on a sprint car. So there was oil coolers getting repositioned in different parts of the car with the damage it had down that right-hand side. And it actually broke the jacking point on the chassis as well. So it was quite a big hit when he and Prosser got together. Prosser currently running in the 5th position. Here he is here. That car did a lot of damage, mainly the left front corner with the upright top and bottom arms. Basically everything on that left front corner was replaced on that race car overnight.
Well, I'm having a look at the times up on our screen, and Brad Gardner is pushing hard in the 22 at the moment. He has a race record at the moment of 1:626. Now, Josh Haynes is only 1:08, so he's only giving him a couple of tenths of a second at the moment. They've still got half of this race to get through. Josh Haynes is not going to want to let Brad Gardner get too close. They're managing that as Brad Gardner goes faster again, a 1:42 compared to a Josh Haynes with 1:55. So there is plenty to play for at the front, and Brad Gardner is trying to chase it down as Michael Coulter goes right on the inside here for a massive run on the inside of Robbie Farr, and they're going to go too wide into turn number 1, and who's going to stay on the outside? Will Coulter try it? Maybe come across to the crisscross at the moment. No, he's not going to be close enough. Or will he get the run up here as he slides the number 11 turn Tippers entry out of that corner, but Robbie Farr covers him off.
Coulter had some good mid-corner speed there. These two will be enjoying this. Robbie having a bit of a fight here, and Coulter actually battling with someone that he's not used to battling to. So these two are doing a really, really good job in 6th and 7th. Prosser up ahead of them. So Gardner with a new lap record again, a 1:00.4290. I reckon the Weltec boys have got on the radio to Haynes because he's just gone 1:00.55. So he's picked up his pace. The gap is 2.3 seconds with about 5.5 laps left to go.
I'm going to say they're managing him at the moment. There was that discussion we had with them yesterday with Aaron Tebb down there in pit lane where I said, how do you control the enthusiasm of the young 20-year-old? And he said, when you know, you let me know.
Haynes just went 1:00.464 off Brad Gardner's just recent track record, and he's gone purple to the first sector. So you talk about race management. I think they've actually given Josh a little bit of a hurry up to say Gardner is coming.
Well, it's still 2.5 seconds gap at the moment as Michael Coulter applying the blowtorch to the back of the Hi-Tec oils, number 7 of Robbie Farr. We'll try and catch up with him a little bit later as well and have a chat. Robbie Farr always great to talk about his history in racing and how he's enjoying coming to the circuit racing scene as well in the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series.
He'll be enjoying this. He'll be enjoying this. A nice clean run. He's got a bit of a battle on his hands, and Michael Coulter's doing such a good job in behind him. As I said, they will both be enjoying this as Haynes resets the track record at a 1:00.3720. Gardner replies with a 1:00.40. 300ths in the outright lap time. So Haynes has definitely got the hurry up. Gardner's trying to chase him down. That gap has stabilised to 2.4 seconds. And Haynes has actually extended out to 2.6 out in front as we watch this battle between Farr and Coulter for 6th and 7th positions.
That car is moving around on Robbie Farr, isn't he? He isn't to work the wheel there. We saw yesterday in the top 8, he actually missed the gear, went back to first position and slid that car through too. So he still learning the craft as it is getting around here, and having this pressure behind him will really help him feel a little bit more settled, I think, amongst the field of drivers there. And Michael Coulter, well, where is the overtaking opportunity? Because there's not a huge amount of space out there at one race where you really have to watch for that one, and that might be Zach LaChalpo going in the pits. I'm not quite sure, because we did see that car get restarted. The Temper Solutions 21 to be quite quick. No, that'll be Cam 42.
Cam Sendel's back in the car today, so Cam on pit lane in the PBR test car. So Haynes by 2.6 seconds as Prosser's running wide just ahead. I was about to say that Farr and Coulter actually weren't too far behind Aaron Prosser in that 5th position. As we go back to Haynes out in front, that gap is stabilised to 2.5 seconds. Gardner was going to him, and then I reckon the boys have got on the radio and said, Josh, just throwing a couple of quick ones here because Brad is charging. Just control it out in front, and that's what he's doing here right now. And the car looks nice and settled on the racetrack, as does Gardner's. Gardner's looks a lot better than it did early on in the race.
And now Gardner goes to our fastest first sector too. Now, this car on track, the 24 of Sam Bates, I'm pretty impressed with him at the moment. Gardner is super fast. He's gone a 1 minute .68, so he is only 2 tenths or 2.5 tenths off Gardner and Josh Haynes. And that is for someone who's only been behind the wheel of these cars a couple of times. That is mega for him.
Haynes goes 1:00.25. Gardner replies with a 1:00.22 to take the track record back off him. The gap is still 2.5 seconds.
Wow, and the battle continues on down here, and it's for 7th position between the 6th position between Farr and Coulter. And look, Coulter's looking for every bit of opportunity he can, but Aaron Prosser's not too far in front. We saw him go wide that previous lap as well, so they've managed to catch him up just a little bit, even though while they fight this out, it probably slows them down a bit. As I see what looked like might have been a little bit of tire smoke there.
Little lock up from Farry. He's trying real hard to hold off Coulter. Michael, with a lot more motor racing circuit experience, is able to carry his mid-corner speed a little bit better. Robbie's actually pretty good getting off at the exits, but just in some of the high-speed stuff, he's just a little bit vulnerable to Coulter at the moment, but he's keeping the car on the racing line and definitely closing up here on Prosser. So this is 5th, 6th, and 7th. As Gardner goes 1:00.08, he's nearly into the 59s in race condition.
He's slowly catching. It's only 1500ths of a second that he'll catch Josh Haynes on that, who went a 1 minute .21, so he's still got a 2.3 second lead out in front, and with only a few laps left remaining in this race, that will be enough. We're going to conserve tyres out of this one. Josh Haynes doesn't need to do anything silly, because at the start of the next race, if they finish in this order, he's going to be alongside of him either way.
It's going to be game on for race number 3, I'll tell you that for a fact. Absolutely categorically. Haynes purples the first sector again. So they're fast at the end of this run. The last race of the weekend's 20 laps, so I think both of them have probably set the cars to come up a little bit later. Gardner's didn't look as comfortable early, but certainly very, very fast here at the moment as Robbie Farr continues to hold off Coulter here for the 6th position.
Josh Haynes just needs to finish this lap in the lead. If we calculate the points, this could clinch his championship. He'd only have to finish the next 2 races to bring this home. He doesn't need to do anything silly. As long as he doesn't get a DNF for the rest of the weekend, he could finalise the championship here, and we've got a $5,000 ring up for grabs as well.
Gardner either locked a brake or dropped the wheel off because there was a big cloud of either smoke from a brake lock up or a cloud of dust. Someone goes off in the background. So Haynes has just done a 1:00.10 for a PB, and it's Danny Reedy off in the desert Palms Camaro. Has it done a right front? It's definitely done damage to the front splitter.
There's something on the right hand side. I was going to say that looked like it was struggling to accelerate as well. So something's gone wrong with the Danny Reedy machine and the Desert Palms injury. That's a tough weekend for them, isn't it? They've had to do a lot of work, and we know we've been staying in similar accommodation to them, and the first night was pretty relaxed, and they've been busy ever since.
Yeah, character building weekend for Danny Reedy, but he's still in the box seat for the Rookie of the Year as we go to the final lap here at One Raceway for race 2 for the TA2s.
Well, the man of steel leading us at the moment in the number 37 Hertz Hog Mustang, and he's just got to get through this final bit of the lap to try and clinch this championship, put himself in a almost undefeatable position. It's not quite there as we see Mark Crutcher, who had that spin a little bit earlier, back in 8th position now and just getting the car circulating once again. I'm sure Jordan Cox has given him some great words. This battle's still going on for 6th position though, and Robbie Farr just making that Hi-Tec Camaro a little bit wider than it normally is. So you can hold out. Coulter has a dive down the inside. Here he goes, puts the bomb in. Does he get it done in the Terps Tippers entry though?
Can't get it cleared. What a great race between these two for pretty much the duration of the whole race.
Checkered flag is out, and Josh Haynes, the man of steel, will extend his lead in this championship out to 118 points over Brad Gardner, who's second now in the championship. Sam Bates with an incredible third place to get on the podium. Action Jackson comes through for fourth position in the 81 machine as well. Great to see him in the MGW Team RSG entry as well for Hayden Jackson. He has needed a few good races here after what has been a very tough season for him. Robbie Farr fighting it out. He's got a last couple of corners. Michael Coulter's going to have one more look down the inside. Aaron Prosser will come across the fifth position. Farr, no. Will he get it done? I think Coulter might get him right at the last moment in the sixth position. And Robbie Farr will go back to seventh. So he made up one position throughout this race. Mark Crutcher will come across the line and get himself in eighth position. Now, Zach LaCharpe, unfortunately very fast, will now go to the rear for the next race because he unfortunately had that spin out and the car was banged up for a bit. I'm really interested to find out what happened to Danny Reedy because we're not quite sure how that turn of events happened.
Definitely had some damage to the right front corner, and the front splitter nose was dragging down on the ground. But take nothing away from Josh Haynes, and provisionally I believe that is enough for him to tie up the championship. Still with 2 races left to go here at One Raceway for the TFH Hire TO2 Muscle Car Series, framed by Hi-Tec steel framing.
Yeah, Josh Haynes now will just need to circulate and finish races. That's all he needs to do to clinch a championship. So
you think he's going to do that?
My mum will have tears in her eyes. The nails won't be existing. They will be bitten away at the moment. For us, though, it's Danny Reedy who came in 11th and number 5. Is it going to be another afternoon of rebuilding that car? It looked like the front right this time. Not quite sure if there was any other reason for that or if he's just come off. Let's check out some of the Hi-Tec Oils highlights because there's plenty going on in this race, and what a start it was for Brad Gardner coming out of 6th position, and have a look at him go around the outside here. It was a big dive around and he went straight up into 3rd position on the outside of Mark Crutcher as well in the number 4. Zach LaCharpe and Mark Crutcher made contact very early on when LaCharpe went into a spin off onto the dirt, and it took a couple of laps for him to get that car restarted.
Yeah, that was just awkward more than anything. They actually had a little bit of contact down through 1 on the inside. Zach was up against the curbs, but that was sort of secondary after that, and then Crutcher just on that dusty part of the track has just rotated down into the dirt, and that would take him out of the 4th position, handing that position up to the 81 Hayden Jackson. This was a race-long battle between Farr and Coulter, and I'm just wondering, Matt, on the run down to the checkered flag, did Coulter actually slip up the inside of the actual racing line over the inside of the curbs on that last run? I'll have to wait and see about that one, but Aaron Prosser ran off ahead of Farr during their battle as well.
We just saw some moments that we thought potentially that was a little bit of tyre smoke coming out of the farms. I'm not quite sure. It looked like potentially that could be gear shifting down as well because I didn't see him pure white. It had a little bit of a blue mist to that smoke. So we'll have to watch that space very closely. But they fought that out all the way to the end though. The 37 though, Hertog Mustang of Josh Haynes, another dominant one. And this was the damage to the right front. Now, is that locked up?
Yeah, that's locked up.
Locked up.
That's locked up. So he must have made contact with something to push everything back. Coulter forcing the issue on Farr on the last lap run. What I want to see is, does Coulter take the little shortcut to sneak by Robbie Farr on the last lap run to the checkered flag? But I guarantee those two boys would have enjoyed that as Haynes crossed the line victory, trading lap records with Brad Gardner. It wasn't so much a challenge on the track, but look, Haynes doing enough to take out another win here this weekend at One Raceway.
Yes, and that might be enough to clinch this championship if he can just hold on and finish these races. We're here for the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series at this revamped One Raceway. Let's head down, though, to our pit lane for our winners with Matty Mack.
Well, Sam Bates, I know you do love a television interview, but that seemed like a pretty quiet race for you. The boys were battling it out at the front there. I suppose you were just conserving tyres?
Yeah. Well, I expected Brad to be held off a little bit longer by Crutcher, but he just got through straight away. Nothing I could do, and tried to get him back, but he's too fast.
And the boys, Mel's going to cover it in just a second, but that was a battle for lap record after lap record after lap record. At the end of the day, they might have torn up some tyres. You might have something for them in the races to come this afternoon.
Yeah, I had no idea about that, but once I knew I couldn't keep up, I just conserved tyres and see how we go.
What are we going to do for the next two? What have you got up your sleeve?
Get a better start, get in front, hold the other guys off. We'll see what happens.
There you go. See what happens. Good luck for the rest of the afternoon. Over to you, Mel.
Brad Gardner, tough day yesterday, P2 in that one. You've set a new lap record. I don't know if that's going to make you smile at all.
Yeah, that's good to know that we had a quick car and all, but yeah, we don't need to be where we were, but the boys got the car fixed up and that's where we need to be. So we're starting alongside of Josh again, and hopefully the car's on, but yeah, can't thank the boys and Hi-Tec always enough for the fast car.
I saw you checking your tyre pressures over there and a bit of a chat about that. How's the tyre store looking for the next 2 races?
Yeah, they'll be fine. Yeah, we'll be good on tyres. So yeah, the car's handling really well. So can't wait.
It's not over yet.
Nah, absolutely, we've got to hang in there.
Josh Haynes, the Herzog Steel, man of steel. Yeah, that close. Can you taste it yet? That was a great win. And you guys were just throwing lap record for lap record, one after the other, but you're that close.
We are very close, but I've been saying all weekend we're not there yet. So we've still got 2 to go. Herzog Steel Mustang was really quick. Waltec's done an awesome job. Yeah, the car felt really good out there. So obviously it's a tyre game too. So we've got to make sure we're there on the last race. So yeah, really looking forward to it. Good start to the day.
And talk to me about your tyre bank. I know there's probably people listening from the other team, but what have you got in your? Have you got much in the bank now? Have you got much left?
We do. We've been fortunate enough where I can be out the front and look after them. Yeah, but obviously Brad got up to the front pretty quickly there. So it's going to be all to play for in the last one. I'm looking forward to it.
It was a pretty exciting race behind you as well. Quite a bit of dirt being thrown up on the circuit. As the lead driver, you're a bit of Robinson Crusoe, first to arrive on that once it happens. Is that disconcerting?
Yeah, look, obviously being out the front, you get an advantage in a way. You literally can just put your head down and try and build a gap. So that's what I did. I did see a bit of dust behind me and all around the track. So yeah, it's still, obviously when someone goes off, a lot of dirt's been coming onto the track. So you've got to keep an eye out and obviously try not to pick up a puncture. But look, good start to the day. We've got 2 more to go and we'll see how we go.
Back to you, boys.
Oh, I can hear a little bit of nerves in the man of steel at your moment. And let's talk about points. I'll call this provisional because we're doing this off our calculations. It's not confirmed. Is 118 points in front of Brad Gardner at the moment. There's 120 points up for grabs if you get 2 wins. So 12 cars here this weekend. If he comes in 12th position, 35 points for Josh Haynes. He just needs to finish races at this point. I'm going to take a short break and let Dan McCarthy jump in with you, Jamie, because we've got Stock Cars Australia up next.
Danny Burgess starting off the pole alongside Daniel Stubbs. Battle continuing on from yesterday. Robert Marchese in the 3rd position. Michael Ricketts from 4. Brett Mitchell from 5. Merrick Malou from 6. Go back to Mark Ranger, the rest of the field with our Stock Cars Australia lineup. And a pesky little Nissan Pulsar thrown in the mix as well, because Michael Ricketts wanted to come motor racing this weekend, so we slotted them into the category with thanks to the Stock Cars Australia team. So a little bit of that light cloud this morning just breaking up overhead here at One Raceway at Goulburn. Absolutely beautiful weather conditions so far throughout the weekend here from back as far as Thursday, Friday and yesterday obviously. Beautiful, ideal conditions, wonderful facility. It has created a few little issues, obviously, with drivers going off track and dragging a lot of that material back onto the racing surface. But let's get through this one. Joined in commentary by Dan McCarthy as we go to the 3rd race of the weekend for Stock Cars Australia. Any updates from down there on pit lane, Mr. McCarthy?
Not too many updates. I was chatting to a few of the drivers just about their vehicles and things. But fortunately yesterday there wasn't too much to report in terms of mechanical dramas or anything. Everybody finished. It was a nice, clean affair. There were a few spins. I spoke to a few drivers about that. But these cars are hard to drive, particularly at this circuit. But here we are, front row of the grid, the orange truck with Burgess at the wheel. Alongside him in the NASCAR is Stubbs. We are underway, and they roar down towards turn number 1 for the first time. Looks like a good start from Stubbs around the outside. Can he sneak around there? Looks like he's got good momentum, but he's just drifted out a little wide, and Burgess holds on. Whoa, big slide.
So Stubbs just did what Burgess did yesterday and got into a big tank slapper coming out of the first corner. At this point, that's where Mitchell went off in the number 8, so he gets through and negotiates that part of the track successfully this time as the rest of the field work their way up to the top part of the circuit here at One Raceway. Lap 1 of 10, race number 3 for the Stock Car Australia's cars. We got the Oz cars in there, some of the old historic cars used to feature at the Thunderdome at Calder Park and the Stock Car Championships there, and even an old Thunderbird NASCAR, which you were saying yesterday, Dan, the 41, probably better known in the hands of Charlie O'Brien, who was a bit of a legend of Australian motorsport.
Yeah, certainly was. That car, though, you're talking about, it just dropped to the back of the field, which is a bit of a surprise to me. But looking up the inside is that little Pulsar of Ricketts, and he's made the move on Marchese. So Marchese, you'd think, should just slide back through on the straight. He's definitely coming back, but he's on the wrong side for turn number 1. And here comes Granger in the Falcon. Sticks the nose up the inside and takes that position off him. So the championship leader going backwards. I spoke to him yesterday. I said, you know, you're the championship leader, you know, how do you feel going into the final day? And he said, look, I'll be honest, I'm only here because of sheer consistency. There are so many faster cars than me that have just broken down here and had mechanical dramas there. So I'm here just through consistency, and that's the way he's going to play it today. He's sitting currently in position number 7.
So the 49 there, sorry, the 48, Mark Granger in the more of a touring car spec Falcon running with the stock cars. Right, Stubbs coming back. So Mitchell's up into the second position. He took advantage of Stubbs having that little moment off the exit of turn number 1 where he tried to sneak up the inside of Burgess. Just got off that racing line as Mitchell takes that shortcut. You don't want to do that too many times because I think race control will frown upon that if you keep going through that and doing it more than once, especially in back-to-back laps. It just shows you how easy it is to get that last sequence of corners wrong, which fires you out wide, and the easiest way to go is to actually take that shortcut. But yeah, if you keep doing it, I reckon there'll be some penalties start to get assessed.
Certainly an advantage to be gained, isn't there? You save a good 10 metres, maybe even more, by cutting over that corner. And also you're able to carry mid-corner speed more. If you're doing it intentionally, you just take the hairpin faster and then shortcut it. So there is certainly time to be found, and as you say, the stewards will be well aware of that one. As we look back at a couple of the Oz cars, that one with number 26 on the side, that was famously driven by Jason Wiley back in the day, a very, very well-known Oz car racer, always at the pointy end, wasn't he?
Yeah, I can actually remember that car, and Jason was a very, very fast racer in the Oscar category, and great to see some of these cars as it's hiking the left front wheel. That's pretty cool. Great to see a lot of these cars coming back out of the sheds and getting restored because, look, there's a lot of value in some of these machines because they've got a lot of history behind them, and we have spoken throughout the weekend about the growth of historic motor racing around Australia, especially across so many different categories in the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And good news as well, talking in the paddock, it sounds like there's a couple more Oz cars. They wanted to get them out for the last round in Calder and just ran out of time, and same again this weekend. But in the off-season, I would not be surprised to see several more Oz cars back out on the racetrack, which is going to be great for absolutely everybody. There's 5 already out there here today, and to have some more Oz cars, that can only be a good thing. Such a great history in Australian motorsport. But these top 3 are closing up. Stubbs purple in the first 2 sectors. He is close right in on Mitchell, but Mitchell himself is steadily gaining on the race leader Burgess as well. This is what we wanted to see, and we saw yesterday traffic played a huge factor in determining the outcome of this race. So if these 3 are nose to tail when they catch up to the lap traffic, it will be on.
Yeah, there was definitely some lap traffic issues for Burgess and Stubbs. Stubbs ended up running into the back of the number 7 truck and actually rotated as they were trying to negotiate some of the slower lap traffic. We talk about barn fines with some of these older cars coming back out. Literally, some of these Oz cars have actually been paddock fines.
Yeah.
They've been sitting in the middle of a field rusting away, and they've been found and resurrected. So, yeah, really cool story. And these 3 are putting on a really good race out in front. Mitchell, Burgess and Stubbs, 2 Oz trucks up against the sort of an earlier NASCAR spec / ARCA ARCA style car, the Monte Carlo body on it. There's a similar one of those that runs up in Queensland, out of Queensland Raceway as well. In fact, I think there's a couple up there, and there's still some Oz trucks based up there as well, but a lot of them have ended up down this part of the world.
Yeah, I believe it ran in the ASA series is what I've been told over there. So yeah, a lower form of NASCAR competition, raced on ovals and on...
ASA, yeah,
yes.
okay.
Yep. As we see, the leading 2 are very much closing in now, and there is Stubbs just in behind as well.
Yeah, Mitchell took that shortcut through that last sequence again on that one, so yeah, just watching that. Still a few laps left here to go as Stubbs had a big handful of opposite lock, and lap traffic is coming. Now, this is going to be awkward. It was yesterday in race 2 because the top 3 are pretty close together, and they've got to try and negotiate the traffic.
This is really, really good racing at the moment. Real high-quality racing from those top three. But we look a little bit further back at the Falcon battle there briefly between Maloof and Granger in the fight for fourth position. Back to the front runners. It looks like they've slightly split there as they overtook the number 7, or number 71 if he's entered in this weekend, but number 7 on the side, the Oscar out there on the race circuit, formerly driven by Rodney Jane. But here we are now. It's on. Oh, he's gone in too deep. He's lost the rear. He's just about saved it, but Stubbs, I'm sure, will have a great run up the hill. He's not quite close enough, though, to take advantage.
That was a big, long slide from Mitchell. I was just about to say Mitchell had made a gain with that exchange in lap traffic as we go back through the field to that beautiful number 41 Thunderbird. And in fact, that Thunderbird's about to go a lap down to the leaders here. So Mitchell was right on the 7 of Burgess and just made that mistake, got into one a little bit too deep and just lost the rears and did well. And you can see how much runoff area there is off the outside here at turn 1. So he's come up. The closing speed was very, very different. He's out in the dirty line. Did a good job there. He's kept his foot on it, but actually lit up the rear tyres. But Stubbs wasn't able to take advantage of it because he sort of narrowed up and actually got sideways himself as well. So they cleared the Thunderbird, so not a problem there as Mitchell again takes that shortcut.
He's not hiding it now, is he? It's just completely straight lining it down there around the final corner. But my take on that one lap ago, I think Mitchell was going to actually tag the tail of Burgess, and he decided to jink left a bit to avoid contact, and that's what saw him run so wide. So actually I think that was good heads-up driving. He makes a little bit of a mistake coming up the hill, and that leaves him a little bit vulnerable to Stubbs. But how good is this? The top three after 7 laps, separated by 0.7 of a second.
Mitchell's trying hard, yeah. I think just that closing speed, I think it caught him by surprise a little bit, and he's just rolled out of it and slid up the track to avoid getting into the back of the leader, which very potentially was what was going to look like happening. Stubbs coming back at Mitchell now, so the three of them are all sort of a little bit quicker at different sequences of the track. A little block up there on the right front from Burgess.
It's funny you say that. Stubbs fastest in Sector 1, Burgess fastest in Sector 2, Mitchell fastest in Sector 3. We know why Mitchell's fastest in Sector 3.
And here's lap traffic, big time. They're splitting them down the front straight with a couple of laps to go, and all three of them are on top of each other. They come up onto the back of the 26 of Brad Lighton in the car we've talked about, previously driven by the well-known Jason Wiley, and he's done a good job. Stubbs is going to get a little bit held up here. He didn't quite clear him early enough, but Mitchell and Burgess did, and they're back nose to tail. Stubbs has lost about 4 car lengths out of that. He just caught up with the 26 in a little bit of an awkward spot.
One thing we haven't actually mentioned so far, but I think it's got to be worth mentioning. We said about Marchese being the championship leader, was Burgess runs a little bit wide, but he came into this round just 6 points ahead of Burgess. So overnight, I'm certain actually that would have switched around with Burgess taking 2 race victories. And he's pushing the limit still. He's trying to make it 3 from 3 out there at the moment as they move through the lap traffic. The Oscar driven by Cole Matten as they come across the line one more time. There is 1 lap to go. This is the closest Mitchell has been since that mistake several laps ago. And Burgess defends down the inside, holds the inside line, and again Mitchell in deep. Stubbs is close enough this time to potentially capitalise. No, not quite. Gets a little bit sideways out of turn 3. And Mitchell just holds on.
Just struggling to get it turned and stopped. Oh, he struggled up there too. Like the corner before, he was offline, and he's going to go around. No, he holds on to it. Stubbs back into second as the 7 of Burgess now negotiating another one of the Oz trucks in lap traffic. That'll be the 304 of Michael Heppelston. Stubbs right on the back of Burgess. So Stubbs has actually gained out of this with Mitchell pretty much for about 3 corners, just not getting the sequence right.
Oh, they're both wide there as they try and get past the 304 truck. It's going to come right down to the wire here. Is Stubbs going to be held out to dry on the outside? No, he's dealt with that pretty well around the outside there. But out in front, the number 7 truck is going to make it 3 from 3.
Burgess will take the win in the orange. Number 7 from Stubbs and Mitchell. That was entertaining stuff. I wonder if race control might have a little word with Mitchell about the constant shortcutting through that last sequence of corners onto the main straight. And the battle for the Oz cars. Matten, I think, in the 2.
Yeah, Matten from the 2, who has already crossed the line 1 lap down. He beat home the number 26 of Leeton, and then 3rd was Gates in car number 22. So they were 9th, 10th, and 11th on the road.
That was quite a cool battle to watch. And yeah, as you said, Dan, each of the 3 of them were actually faster in each of the sectors. Danny Burgess with the win in race number 3, ahead of Daniel Stubbs. There was just 0.7 of a second in it at the line. Brett Mitchell in 3rd, Merrick Malouf in 4th, Mark Granger in the battle of the V8s. Michael Ricketts in 6th, ahead of Robert Marchese. Michael Hippelston, Colin Matten taking out the Oz cars in the number 2 machine. Lucas Gates 11th, Michael Rice 12th, Zach O'Hara 13th in that wonderful Shell Helix Ford Thunderbird NASCAR. So up next, we continue on with our action with the Formula Vs, their 2nd race of the weekend, and in the Australian Drivers' Championship, as the Australian stock cars head back down onto pit lane. You can just see how much earthworks has gone on here at One Raceway. That is a really cool viewing position here at the racetrack. Spent a little bit of time up there on Friday watching practice, and you can pretty much see the whole racetrack from that position. And that's one of the things about One Raceway. You can see the whole racetrack from any given point around the facility. And Steve Shalley and his team and the family, again, just can't give him enough credit for how much, with the changes he's done to improve what was formerly known as Wakefield Park. As we go to the Hi-Tec Oils highlights for the Stock Cars Australia lineup, race number 3 for the weekend. A good clean start. Stubbs initially looked like he got around the outside, but Burgess had momentum on the inside and got the run through to the lead. Mitchell, not for the first time, he was very, very sideways on occasion, and he and Stubbs had a pretty good battle going for that 2nd and 3rd, with Burgess sort of just controlling the lead out in front. We knew it was going to be crucial when they got to lap traffic, because it certainly was in the previous race of the weekend, where Stubbs and Burgess actually got together trying to negotiate lap traffic, and Stubbs was left facing the wrong direction. A couple of times there, Mitchell had a run, but just got into turn 1 a little bit too deep, ran it wide. Stubbs wasn't able to take advantage of that one. They were splitting Oz cars down on the front straight, still nose to tail. Burgess was fastest in one sector. Mitchell was fastest in another, and Stubbs was fastest in another. So we talked about each of the 3 cars being better at different points of the tracks, and that's pretty much how it equated. So again, Mitchell ran a little bit wide, chasing down Burgess. Stubbs trying to take advantage of that again. And from about here, I think Mitchell was under pressure, offline there. That put him offline here and back out into the dirt. He didn't spin it, but he lost the position to Stubbs, who got back into that 2nd position. But the checkered flag flying for Burgess for 3 wins from 3 starts here at One Raceway for Stock Cars Australia.
Really good race, that one. The top 3 was certainly in a league of their own, but they had a great battle. Daniel Stubbs notably taking 2nd position right late on in that race.
All right, we'll cross down to Mal, down on pit lane with our top 3 from Stock Cars Australia.
Brett Mitchell, P3 in that one. That was a wild, wild ride.
Yeah, it was a hard pull the whole race. I was chasing Danny the whole way. One missed gear at the top of the hill and let Daniel through. He was right on my back the whole day, so he deserves it. So I think we can take his P plates off now. He's qualified.
So I see a couple of times here you sort of cut through in the last corner. You were sliding out wide on the first corner.
No, I didn't see it that way.
Oh, well, it was great to watch. I see the front of your car's covered in oil here, so someone might have a bit of a problem.
Yeah, I'd say Danny's car's leaking a bit of oil. I did see it the whole race on my windscreen, but it's something you'll have to check out. But
great drive.
Thank you.
Daniel Stubbs, this is 2nd position for you today. A bit of a hard fight out there, but you managed that lap traffic really helped you out a bit in the end.
It did a little bit. It brought me up to the other 2, and Brett, I think he said he missed a gear or something, and I just got around him there.
Does he always have those excuses up his sleeve?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I've only been racing with him this year, but I'd say so.
How are you going to go against Danny Burgess? How do you catch him?
I think on the start, if I can get him on the start, and it's pretty hard to pass around here in the big cars, so maybe a good start, and I'll see what we can do.
Well, they sound absolutely great. Let's head over to Mel with our winner.
Danny Burgess, 3 out of 3 so far.
Yeah, it's been an awesome weekend to be back here for the opening of One Raceway. So, yeah, fairy tale weekend so far.
Did you hear his tactic? He said he's going to go for it on the start in the next one.
Yeah, yep. No, it's pretty high pressure under the start there, but
managed to keep first place this time. So, yeah, awesome. They made me work for it, though.
It looks pretty slippery out there. Is it slipperier than yesterday?
Yeah, there's a lot of dirt and stuff on the track, but the surface is very good. It just catches you off guard when there's a bit of dirt on the surface. So
makes for good action.
Yep.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mal. All right, Formula Vs are out next for their second race of the weekend as we look over the back countryside here at Goulburn in New South Wales. Beautiful part of the world, about 2.5 hours southwest of Sydney and an hour north, I think it's still northwest, isn't it, from Canberra on the Hume Highway. So, yeah, beautiful part of the world. So this is the other end of the track down into Turn 1. You can see the expansive runoff area there. And again, that banking that's been put up around the circuit to help with some of the noise issues that what was actually brought the undoing of Wakefield Park back in 2022. So it was a couple of years ago that basically the track got shut down. It wasn't feasible to run it with the days on offer or the hours on offer to run it as a racetrack. Steve Shelley stepped in. He's already got a racetrack not too far away from here called the Pheasant Wood Circuit in Maroolin, New South Wales. Little private track, couple of kilometres long. Fantastic driver training facility, and they do some endurance races and that there. It's a really, really cool place looking at the pictures. And this place is now just as cool, Dan. The transformation in a couple of years, if you knew Wakefield Park before, is pretty stunning.
Certainly is. And I don't think we've really touched on it. This track can be run in both directions.
We haven't actually. That's one that I have overlooked. So it's unique in that way. There's not too many of our big motor racing circuits around the country that you could do that with.
No, absolutely. It certainly couldn't be run in the other direction previously, so the changes that have been made, particularly to the final sequence of corners, have enabled that to happen. You can actually see on the far right of the shot, the old configuration was a very, very tight hairpin, but now with the banking and the sort of chicane entry, it enables them to attack that direction as turn number 1. So it's a really cool initiative that this track has, and something I really cannot think of a single track in this country where you can run it both directions.
So Formula V starting grid race number 2, Daniel Reynolds starting up front, Dylan Thomas, Alex McDonald, David Casey, Matthew Pearce, Angus McDonald out of 6, William Pym out of 7, Matthew Harriott, Corey Ogden, Rod Lisson, Mark Thompson out of position 11. There's 29 cars in the field this weekend. Adam Henderson out of 12, Edward McFall from 13, Michael Lloyd from 14. Michael Kinsella will be one to watch from grid 21, had a clash with one of the lap cars in race number 1, did a lot of damage to that machine, but I believe Kinsella is back out there on track. I'm not too sure about Evelyn McCarthy in the number 29 machine. The number 40 machine.
Yeah, I had a quick look through the Formula V paddock and I couldn't see that car, so whether it was out being repaired this morning, I'm not entirely sure, or whether she's just packed up and gone home, but that was a couple of hours ago now, so we'll keep an eye at the back of the field for her. Hopefully she is back out there on the circuit. She is a local though. She lives just 3 k's out of the Australian Capital Territory, so pretty much 45 minutes an hour down the road from where we are here, so very much a local. And it's great to see so many of the this is an Australian round, we should say. This is a national round of the Formula V series, but a lot of the New South Wales competitors have made their way here, as well as it is a round of the New South Wales series to compete against the very best that Australia has to throw at them.
And there's 2 categories, Dan. So there's the 1600 outright category, and then there's the 1200cc secondary category.
That's correct, yes. And there's a really good field as well of 1200cc cars here this weekend. Grid position 22 all the way down. So we've got a good 7 of those here this weekend. And the men so far to beat has been car number 13, Stephen Butcher who isn't actually leading the series. He did 1600 in round number 1, didn't have a great round and decided he'd be better off going back down to 1200. But he chops and changes depending on the round that he's entered. But entered in 1200 this weekend and has very much been the man to beat in that class. Reynolds took the win in race number 1, and away from the line, it's pretty equal between he and Dylan Thomas, but I think Thomas is coming across the inside and he has got the run to turn number 1.
Yeah, Dylan Thomas in the CXC colours doing double duty with the Legends. Didn't have a great run in the previous race with the Legends. I don't know if he made it out on track, or he definitely didn't finish, so Dylan looking to atone for that. He's out in front of this Formula V's to watch. The car to watch will be Michael Kinsella from grid 21, the black number 35, involved in an incident yesterday trying to negotiate lap traffic. I'm pretty sure Kinsella was leading the points.
No, Reynolds
leading the points. Kinsella, so I think, was second in the points going into the weekend, so that was certainly a big one with a DNF in race number 1. So already Reynolds applying the blowtorch to the back of Dylan Thomas on the opening lap. Two very, very, very different looking race cars from a body profile point of view.
Speaking to Thomas just before this race, he said his plan, whether or not Reynolds agrees, is to work together and try and pull away from the rest of the field. And it looks to me like they've very much done that on the opening lap. They've pulled 1.5 seconds as they go too wide. McDonald and Casely across the line in the fight for position number 3. But look at this group of cars. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's about 10 cars completely nose to tail in around the 1200cc class front runners. But look at this, Reynolds already lining up a move, looking up at the top of the hill. He's got to run potentially up the inside, but I think you need a good portion of the car up the inside to overtake at turn number 6.
Quite a bit of wheel work going on in the cockpit of the CXC machine, because Thomas had a little bit of mid-corner understeer, and you can see the hand right up over the top of the wheel. Not an awful lot of steering lock with these race cars. Further back behind this group, just going through shot now, was Kinsella, already up into 10th position from grid 21. So Kinsella, I don't think he'll be too far away from trying to get towards the front. If he can get to the front, that's going to be one heck of an effort. It just might be a little bit too far back, considering the pace of Thomas and Reynolds out in front.
No mistake there, really running wide at turn number 12, and that's cost him all the momentum. McDonald down the pit straight. The number 51 could potentially be a sitting duck. He's going to be left out to dry. He's lost just the one place. I think he was quite lucky there with the exit that he made. So loses third to Casely, but back up the front. This to me is where Reynolds looks particularly strong, this middle sector, but it is the hardest sector to make an overtake on, and gets a bit of understeer there mid-corner, keeps it within the tarmac boundaries. That was a big load of understeer. Where has Kinsella moved up to? Only the 1 position on that lap, but he's right in this train now of cars. There he is, number 35, the blue machine, and just as I talk about him, he makes the move on Pim up to position number 8.
So pretty much that's going to be 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th, and Kinsella's right in amongst that second group of cars. So Reynolds will just be Reynolds out in front with Dylan Thomas, just having a look to see, just gauging Dylan's pace. Is it going to be fast enough to hold off the drivers behind? Does he have to seize the opportunity and go to the front and try and run away and hide by himself? And that's the issue he's forcing there now as he drives around the outside of Dylan Thomas through turn number 1. That's not the easiest pass to make. Let's see if Thomas can stay here with Reynolds now. There's the gap back to 3rd with Casely. Here's McDonald, Ogden, and Kinsella. Kinsella's just made the pass on Ogden up into the 7th position. The fastest driver on track is the race leader, as we've got one going around in the background. I think that was the 74, possibly, of Ogden. This is the pass for the lead around the outside into turn number 1, Dan. That is not an easy thing to do in one of these little cars.
No, certainly not. And you can see sort of sacrifice the 3rd corner exit just to make that move, and did so successfully. I agree with you. Ogden it was that did spin and has plummeted down the order towards the tail of the field. So that is a real shame. In the top 10 throughout the weekend so far. Here was the rejoin, spinning it back around onto the circuit. The question is now, will there be dust on the racing line at turn number 6 next time around? We'll have to wait and see. Kinsella up into the top 5 now. This is a great drive from him, a former champion in the series. Both he and Reynolds, a 4-time champion. They have been front runners in National Formula V competition for so many years. This is the penultimate round of the season. There's still one to go at Phillip Island. They started off at Morgan Park, a round that you called, and then all up the inside. That's another move for Kinsella, up now into 4th place. But yeah, Morgan Park is where they started. They then made the trip all the way over to WA, competing at Collie. Then made their way back all the way, literally back over the opposite side of the country, back here. And then they'll finish things off at the beautiful and picturesque Phillip Island circuit in just a month's time. So not too far away, a short turnaround of events. We've got another car off the circuit, car 28.
Mark Thompson.
Really nicely presented machine, that one. Really stands out in the blue. But look up the front of the field. Reynolds has not been able to break away since taking the race lead. Thomas very much going with him. Oh, he just left a car's width, didn't he, for the 97? And as a result, looped it around. So Henderson stuck the nose up the inside, perfectly entitled to. And he was almost too polite there. Got in the dirty stuff and looped it around. And talking to everybody in the paddock, they're saying, because this track's so new, if you get offline here by even half a car length, you're in the marbles, you're in the dirty stuff, and you're going to spin.
Kinsella's up to 3rd now from grid 21. He's got a 5.8 second disadvantage to try the difference between these two. So Thomas not letting Reynolds get away. Looking at the lap times, Kinsella's just gone fastest with a 106.97. Reynolds at a 107.0. Thomas at a 106.9. And he's just gone fastest, Dylan Thomas, with a 106.9250. Obviously had a little bit of a draft with that one. Kinsella went 106.97, so he was a touch slower and actually lost a little bit of time to the leaders on that last lap. So Reynolds and Thomas with very, very good pace, exactly the same pace as Kinsella, but they've got nearly a 6-second advantage over the 3rd place number 35 driver.
Yeah, absolutely. You spoke or touched on briefly about the difference in these machines. Dylan Thomas is driving a JASA F2K, while the race leader is racing a Checkmate, which is, as you said, a very unique piece of machinery. Not too many Formula Vs are Checkmates, but look at this battle further back. This is sort of in the 1200cc class. They are really getting into things. They're 2 wide, 3 wide. Further back down the field. It's really good racing up there. Oh no, that's is that Clifton, I think, Davey in number 17.
Yeah, he's got a problem. He's got a problem. He was just raising his hand there. Yeah, anytime you can see 8 or 9 cars in the same picture, it's a good time at motor racing. Right, Thomas working over Reynolds. They are actually starting to drive away from Kinsella, so as Kinsella maybe just used a little too much tyre trying to get through that pack for all the way from grid 21, because he's actually a touch slower than our leaders. So 6 seconds behind these two. This is the battle for the lead with just a couple of laps left to go. Reynolds looking for 2 from 2.
I think he's answered your question in Sector 1 there, Kinsella. Is he gone too hard too early? Absolutely not. Purple
no, just purple.
In Sector 1. So proving you wrong there, Jamie, but no, that's good. Good stuff. Shows Kinsella is still trying, but I think he's going to run out of laps here. 6 seconds with only just over 2 laps remaining. But he's done all the hard work. He's made it back up to 3rd position, and that means he'll be with them in the fight in race number 3, which is really good to see. Unfortunately, Kinsella really has been playing catch-up all weekend. I know he took pole position, but in race number 1, dropped back early on and had to make his way back up from 6th position, and did so. Just got back to the leading 2 that we're seeing on the screen now, and that's when he was unfortunately made contact with Evelyn McCarthy out there on the race circuit. But the battle seems to be intensifying out there at the front. I think McThomas has sort of sussed out where his strengths are and where Reynolds' weaknesses are, and we could see a move with just a lap and a half to go. It's pretty much now or never as they head down the hill. He looks pretty close. Is he going to have a look? Well, he's had a look, but no way through there. Reynolds sort of half defended that one down into the fishhook.
Yeah, just a little half fake. All right, lap traffic comes into the equation now. So Kinsella set the fastest lap of the race on the previous lap at a 1:06.802. The current lap record set in race 1 was a 1:06.43. So they're a little bit off that. And but the gap is still around that sort of 6 seconds. It's down to 5.7, but Kinsella's going to run out of laps as our leaders continue to negotiate lap traffic. Here is Thomas got a run. Just a little balk there down the inside for Reynolds. And now, well, Thomas really would know where to run because the driver in the middle, well, he's doing the right thing. He's going to try and get around the racetrack as well. I thought Thomas could take advantage of that as we've got the last lap brought out, 1 to go. Can Thomas size up Reynolds on this last lap?
How cool was that? Either side of the lap traffic both kept their foot in and made their way by before turn number 1. That was absolutely awesome to see. And they are giving it absolutely everything. Thomas maybe lost a fraction of a second in that little exchange on the pit straight, but he's caught back up to Reynolds, but he's running out of opportunities now. He's really only got 1 to go. Turn number 12 or the drag race to the line. What can he do? They've both negotiated that lap machine. That was number 17 or 71, sorry, I believe it was. But here we go into the final sequence. Thomas holding it a bit more shallow to the inside, trying to have a look, but he's not going to do it. Reynolds is going to take his second win of the weekend.
Yeah, Reynolds will do it in the end, but what a fantastic battle between these two, and a little bit of lap traffic come into the equation right there. But, yeah, good racing between those two. I thought Thomas had something for him potentially on that last lap. Kinsella actually closed the gap down to 5.6 seconds. He was down to about 4.7, and I think he might have had to have got around a little bit of lap traffic on the last one as well. So that'll put him further up the starting order for the next race for Formula V, and we'll look forward to potentially a 3 or a 4-way battle for the race lead with the Australian Formula Vs.
You can see the sign, the gantry says, welcome back to the nation's spectacular track. And that was certainly a spectacular race on this Sunday morning. That was the second of 3 Formula V races for the weekend. I'm just waiting. Butcher, there he is. He's going to take the victory. He punches the air as he comes across the line to take victory in the 1200cc class.
All right, next up we have the Australian Drivers' Championship, continuing on with the open wheel theme. Results for Formula V race number 2, Daniel Reynolds with the victory, just 0.2 of a second in it at the line over Dylan Thomas. Michael Kinsella from grid 21 to 3rd. David Casely, Alex McDonald, Matthew Pearce, Angus McDonald, William Pym, Corey Ogden and Rod Liston in 11th, Adam Henderson. It is so many names through there with 28 starting the second race of the weekend for the Formula Vs.
Yeah, the only non-starter there, Evelyn McCarthy, after her crash yesterday. But of all the starters, they all made it to the finish, which is great news. Here are the highlights.
Let's look at the replay of the highlights here. So all the way back of about grid 10, Michael Kinsella just went through shot there. He had a lot of ground to make up on the leaders. Dylan Thomas led away early. Dan talked about the fact that Thomas and Reynolds had spoken together about working together and trying to get away from the rest of the field, which effectively they did. Then I thought Reynolds went, well, maybe I need to sort of get to the front here. I think maybe Dylan's just holding me up a little bit. And a fantastic outside pass at turn number 1. We thought maybe Reynolds was able to get away from Thomas, but Thomas stayed right with him till the end. And then lap traffic came into the equation as the 74 of Gary Ogden had a spin there. And then the 28 facing the wrong direction, that was Mark Thompson in that beautifully presented little car. So Reynolds and Thomas continued to go at it. A couple of different line approaches there into the final sequence of corners. But Reynolds was able to hold on to that lead. And I thought about now that Thomas was going, right, I can size you up here. I know there's a couple of spots I can have a go. But in the end, it was the lap traffic. I thought Thomas got a run here, but Reynolds got a better run down the inside as they split the number 69 of Brian Westerhout. and Thomas wasn't able to take advantage of it, Dan.
Thomas was still there or thereabouts, but on the final lap, Reynolds said I think his second fastest lap of the entire race. It was only just a fraction off his best, so Reynolds really put in a blinder, and it just meant that Thomas was never close enough to make a move on the final lap.
Good close racing as we have come to expect from our Formula Vs here in Australia. Time to cross down onto pit lane with Mel and our top three in Formula V.
Michael Kinsella, brilliant drive, 21st to 3rd.
Yeah, we had a DNF yesterday, so we started off the rear of the 1600s. Just had to be patient, making my way back through the pack. Car wasn't handling the best after overnight repair, but just managed to get back to 3rd, and the gap was too big to the front guys.
Well, you were the fastest one on track, so I bet you were hoping for a few more laps.
Yeah, a safety car just to catch back up a couple hundred metres, but wasn't to be, so we'll just see how we go in the 3rd race.
Well, you'll be back up the front for that one, so look forward to it.
Yeah, the other two guys are pretty quick, so we'll see how we go. Thanks.
Thanks.
Well, Dylan Thomas at second position. You threw absolutely everything out but the kitchen sink.
Yeah, I still feel like they got a little bit more pony than us, but I sort of held him off over the first half of the race, and I was being pretty defensive, to be fair. And then when I got behind him, I was able to get pulled along, but we just didn't have enough legs down the straight. I was hoping one of those back markers could help us out a bit, but anyway, great racing, you know, one Raceway. How cool is it to be back here? Steve Shelley and the boys have done a fantastic job presenting a cool track, and Hi-Tec Oil Super Series, they always put a good job on. Go to Hi-Tec Oil, so yeah, happy to be.
Good luck in the next race.
Thanks, cheers.
Daniel Reynolds, 2 out of 2. He was right there with you for that one.
Yeah, he put on another good fight. Obviously got the jump off me this time and gave me something to fight for a few laps. But obviously, yeah, managed to get him down the straight. I think lap 3 or 4. And from there, it was just trying to pull away, but didn't quite have enough. So it was just...
Great move round the outside.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't as straightforward as I'd obviously like, but luckily I kind of got enough down the outside that he kind of had to give way. And yeah, from then on, it was his turn to try and fight.
What's surprising me is it looks like you guys are using quite a fair bit of curb.
Yeah, obviously with open wheelers, you try not to hit too much curb because suspension's pretty hard and you don't want to kind of get off the ground too much. But some of the curbs are subtle enough that we can kind of ride them a bit, and obviously that extra tenth here and there makes all the difference.
Sure does. We're looking forward to the last race. Should be on.
Yeah, well, Michael obviously came through as well, so I'm sure we're in for a three-way fight.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mel. Yeah, looking forward to that third race for the Formula Vs as we head out on track. On board with our Hyundai i30N safety car. Brand new car this weekend, and it is a pretty stunning looking piece of kit as well. And we're going to say a big thank you to Hyundai being with us all through Australia with the Hi-Tec Super Series and the Benalla Auto Club and AASA. Australian Drivers' Championship starting grid for race number 3, Dean Crook. 2 wins from 2 starts. Starts out of the pole for race number 3, Damon Sterling from 2. Hayden Crossland from 3, ahead of Nico French, Hamish Layton, Luke Claver, Bastian Treptel, Bradley Smith, Hardy Kuhn and Lucas Stasi starting from the rear of the grid in this one after some issues in race number 2. And we've got should have Peter Nolan joining the lineup by the looks of it.
Yeah, good field of cars this weekend. A great variety of youngsters, and then there's a couple of elder statesmen out there as well. But there's some really good fighting, particularly up the pointy end of the field. Dean Crook, the inaugural champion, has won the first 2 races so far this weekend. The championship leader, Damon Sterling, really has been playing catch-up after making a mistake early in race number 1. Made his way at the end of that last race up to 2nd, and that's where he will start this one from. So, yeah, there's lots of talking points in this one. Lucas Stasi, we saw as a DNF yesterday in the fluorescent yellow machine that you can't miss. Unfortunately, a drive shaft gave way midway through that race. So he'll be starting. There he is from the penultimate position on the grid, but look for him to make a few places.
All right, so what I'm looking forward to here is lap record stuff. So Sterling reset it to a 55.1820. You talked to some of the drivers yesterday and they reckon there's a 54 in there. Just looking at the shots on this warm-up with the hypers, it looks like there's a little bit more of a breeze out there, Dan. So that dust is sort of getting blown across the racetrack, which we weren't seeing yesterday because there was little or no wind around. So how will that little bit of extra breeze maybe affect these cars? We know on this tyre they do not have the potential. They will go quicker and do their best laps towards the end of the races.
Yeah, tyres just get constantly warmer, and even at the end of the race they're still could be warmer. The drivers would like them to be warmer, so that's just because of how light they are. These machines are so light.
They must be on the harder compound side of, say, a soft tyre, because they're so durable when they're limited to only 3 sets of tyres for the entire championship. So I'm sort of thinking they're a smaller version of, say, a GT3 compound, which typically are on the harder side, and you need to get a lot of tyre temperature generated to get them up to operating temperature.
Yeah, I think you are correct there, but here we go, around the final corner. We are about to get set for a start. Rolling start in these machines. They have a sequential gearbox fitted to a Suzuki Hayabusa engines. These things roar as they head to turn 1.
The 23 Peter Nolan joins the lineup, so we've got 11 cars out there for race number 3. Sterling trying to get that run around the outside of Dean Crook. They're side by side. They're 3 wide further back and behind them.
Oh, mistake from Crossland. He just about keeps it on the tarmac, but he's lost ground there with the top 3. But that was a hairy moment. Oh, that's I think is
Nico
Smith.
French.
No, Smith running wide in the number 74 machine. French has moved up to 3rd. That was definitely Bradley Smith running out wide, which is a real shame. He's been having a really good weekend. He was sitting inside the top 5 when he made that mistake, and there he is, falling all the way back to 10th position. But the top 2 have quickly pulled away here, Sterling and Crook. So they have reversed. Sterling, brilliant pass, so committed, under brakes around turn number 2. Slingshot around the outside and took that position. Meanwhile, Nico French did a similar thing on Hayden Crossland, and Crossland just about kept 4th after that moment up the top of the hill.
Yeah, I just saw the flash of blue thinking it was French, but Sterling out in front. So coming back through the field after a couple of little issues, does have the lap record at a 55.18. The fastest outright lap record of any category here this weekend. They qualified in the 54s, 54.29 in qualifying, but race record currently at 55.18. Looking to see if we can get into the 54s and race conditions here for race number 3 for the Australian Drivers' Championship. And the HyperX's Crosslands down the inside. Oh, just caught a lot of the curb with the 50 there. Nico French in the back of the car actually bounced up in the air off the backside of the curb with that little shortcut off the run from turn number 13. That was awkward. Oh, they got together. Crossland and French touch down into turn number 1. The rest of the field have negotiated them with just the slightest of touches. Crossland trying to get refired up. We don't know where Nico French ended up. And the top 2 are disappearing out in front. And that did Nico manage to keep going? I think he did. So he's obviously gone on that runoff area. Crossland cannot get refired.
They were telling me yesterday, these things are so incredibly hard to refire when hot. So they have to wait for nearly a minute sometimes to, once the engine is cooled enough, they can then refire the car. But of course, on a lap this quick, you're going down a lap after a minute. So we'll be there frantically trying to restart it. And I think by the fact they've gone slowly into turn 1, we've gone under safety car conditions. So it looks like Crossland is still unable to fire it at this point. But don't be surprised in a few moments if that does refire again once the engine is sufficiently cooled.
So Crossland down the inside, French on the outside. And yeah, just the gap narrowed up between them. And it was just, if there was, it was just the slightest of touches. French sort of went out to the left side with all of that concrete runoff on the outside of turn number 1. He managed to continue, But Crossland was parked up there on the inside of the track, not able to get refired.
No, that's a real shame. The two very, very fast young drivers pushing the limits, and it's rare to see I don't think they even touched. They tried to leave each other room.
It was so slight if it was. Just so slight if it was. There was nothing in it.
I think Crossland might have been maybe understeering towards French, and then he's turned a bit more, and then that's what's caused the tail to come around.
I'm just trying to think how close Crossland maybe was to that inside curb. Is it just unsettled it maybe if he's got the curb there? But yeah, look, was not a lot in it, definitely. French was able to recover on the outside with that runoff area off the exit of turn number 1. So we are parked up behind the Hyundai i30N safety car. Damon Sterling is your race leader. Dean Crook. Crossland will get towed here, so definitely not able to refire the car. I don't know if these cars will bump start, will they?
Not sure actually on that one. I will ask them in the lane, but yeah, I think that might be unfortunately it for him here in this particular race. Crossland yesterday in race number 2, if you were tuned in to the broadcast, you'd have seen he was really, really fast early in the race and then had a twitch, and from there the car really dropped back and slowed down. They really tried a bit of a different setup and it just didn't work. The car went off and became very twitchy late in the race. They went back to a bit more of a standard setup for this one, but unfortunately it's not going to... it's not really prevailed in any way, shape or form. He's being towed back to the pits in this race. So we are under safety car conditions. Let's talk a bit about these machines. Many people won't have seen these cars. These are Hyper Racer X1s, and it was the Hyper Racer series for the first 2 years, the inaugural category in 2022. That went the way of Dean Crook. Damon Sterling won it last year by a solitary point. And this year is leading the series heading into this final round. But this year, it's gone from being known as the Hyper Racer Series to the Australian Drivers' Championship, the series that has gone on for so many years, dating back to the 50s with the likes of Lex Davison and Stan Jones, Alan Jones's father, and Will and Alex Davison's grandfather, racing for open wheel honours at tracks like Sandown and places like that. So it's such a prestigious honour to win the Australian Drivers' Championship, and over the years it's been associated with Formula Holden and all sorts of different categories. Mark Schaefer, former Australian Drivers' Champion, Paul Stokel. We move on to Scott Dixon and the like as well. There's been a lot of different drivers that have won the series over the years, and it's now moved to the AASA banner and with this particular series, and we're seeing the youngsters are really rising to the fore.
All right, we're going to go back to a restart here. The i30N safety car back onto pit lane. Lights were off. Line astern. Sterling will lead them away. A nice slow run down to the lights. Sterling gets on the gas. No overlap to the control line. Nice, easy start there for Sterling. A little bit of a break with Dean Crook. Up to that restart, Crook was the fastest driver on track with a 55.78, but we were only a couple of laps into it. So let's see what they can do here. Sterling now with some clear air. They sound fantastic. The Suzuki Hayabusa running a different muffler system this weekend with these cars to try and keep the noise down with the restrictions here at One Raceway, which we have talked about and has been very, very public previously with the track formerly known as Wakefield Park. So they definitely sound the part. They're a little bit quieter here this weekend, but I love the way they sound at the bend, especially in a straight line in between the walls. They sound like a real race car. They look like a real race car, and they put on some spectacular racing. And it doesn't matter if it's a short track or a big track, they are really fun to watch.
You might have seen there, Nico French's car is being run by Summons Racing. First time this weekend, first ever two-car team is Summons Racing, Nico French. But unfortunately, Rob Summons himself, his weekend ended on Friday practice with a mechanical drama. It's great to see teams expanding, and a few teams are going to do it next year. Come to the racetrack with multiple cars, and they are expecting next year 20 cars, around 20 cars for the opening round and for the remainder of the season after that.
Yeah, I did see Rob Summons' car earlier on the weekend in the black and gold, beautifully presented car.
Yeah.
Just going off there and early down into turn number 1, Luke Claver had a little bit of a moment, and like Crossland, it just had that big twitch on turn, and he had to get out of everything to get the thing straight and back up and get turned. So Claver with his hands full in the 77. First flyer off the back of the restart. Sterling, Crook, French, nose to tail. French sits a PB at a 56.47. Crook's the only one in the 55s on that last lap, so he's actually got a little bit more speed than Sterling out in front. And Sterling not getting away here necessarily from Crook with the fight for the lead.
No, absolutely not. Although Sterling sets the fastest first sector of the race on this particular lap. But I note that Leighton is going with Nico French in the fight for third position as well. As you look further down the field, there is the... just there, sorry, it's the fluorescent car of Luca Stasi, who started at the tail of the field. He's made his way up to position number 7. The youngster's really having no luck at the moment. You might remember on the Hi-Tec Super Series, he was leading race number 1 at the Ben Motorsport Park and had a mechanical issue. The engine let go, and that was it for him for the entire weekend. And his fortunes have not changed, unfortunately, since then. It's just been trauma after trauma, just nothing going his way. But I'm pleased to see him moving forwards in this race. Oh, a little bit wide there.
Sterling.
Yeah.
Sterling definitely very, very wide. I was just about to jump in and say he's just set the fastest lap of the race at a 55.45. Dean Crook at a 55.78. Only 2 drivers in the 55, so a 55.45. That's still 3/10 off track record pace, but expect Sterling, potentially Crook, to just increase their lap speed. Nico French has just gone purple to the first sector at a 15.09, so he's gone fastest to the first sector, and you know it's a short sector when it's a 15-second split to that sector. All right, crossing the line again, Sterling. Certainly not setting any lap records at the moment. That was a 56.4. Crook a 55.9. French a 55.97 for a PB. Back there in third. And he's about 1.4 seconds down on the back of the number 88 of Dean Crook.
Yeah, look at these two. They are closing in. So last time through, Crook just closed a couple more tenths of a second, so it's under 3/10 at the end of the first sector on this lap. Hamish Leighton there in number 19 is trying to follow Nico French and is doing so at the moment. He was completely off the pace on Friday, and he said, we don't know what's wrong with the car, it's just sliding everywhere. I found that there was a little oil spillage, just tiny, and it was just going onto the rear wheels, and it was causing him to slide everywhere. Once they fixed that up, he was an absolute rocket in the races yesterday. He is really effectively 3 sessions down, though, because the practice sessions were almost a complete waste of time for him. So great to see that pretty much from the tail of the field at the start of race number 1, he is now fighting up the front against the big boys in the series.
Yeah, well, we go back to the bend. We're talking about a little oil and cars rotating. Brad Vaughan joined us for the series at the bend, and he had it off there, but it was actually a fuel spillage that caused that spin, which is a little bit different. So Sterling controlling things out front, but he's only 0.45 of a second up on Crook. Nico French back there in third, 2 seconds further back, and then Leighton, another 1.5 seconds back off the back of French in that battle for third and fourth. Sterling's just gone purple to the second sector. He was a little bit down on the first, but I don't think we're going to see a 54 here. I just think maybe just a little bit more wind around the venue. Certainly not on the pace of what they were yesterday, early on with the track record reset to a 55.18. 55.5 for Sterling, 55.6 for Crook. He PBs on that last lap. So they're sort of trading fastest laps at the moment, but only 0.6 in it. So if anything, Sterling's just extended that lead by a tenth and a half in the last lap and a half, and looks to have things out under control out in front.
I think Sterling is probably thinking championship. There's no point going for a fastest lap of the race and throwing it off the road. He's trying to go for his second straight title, and he's just going to hold Crook at bay, keeping at arm's length, and that's exactly what he has done throughout this race. Crook's never been close enough to launch an attack.
So French is actually fastest in the first sector, Sterling in sectors 2 and 3, as we've got them coming down to the line. That was the last lap run. Checkered flag out for Damon Sterling. from Dean Crook. So that's Dean Crook's first loss this weekend. He won the opening 2 races with problems for Sterling coming back through the field. Nico French in third, followed by the number 19 of Hamish Leighton. Claver Trechtel Stasi got up to 7th from the back of the field. Bradley Smith in the 74. Nolan and Kuhn Crossland with a DNF in race number 3.
Another great race there from the Australian Drivers' Championship competitors in their Hyper Racer X1s. But as you say, a new or a different winner here today. Damon Sterling, the series leader, back at the front.
Dean Crook finishing in second. The gap got out to nearly 1 second in the end. Nico French back in third. Hamish Leighton fourth. Luke Claver was fifth ahead of Bastian Treptel. Lucas Stasi up to 7th from the back of the field. Bradley Smith, Peter Nolan and Hardy Kuhn with a DNF to Crossland in the number 6 machine. After that, what looked to be a clash, if there was any contact between himself and Nico French, down into turn number 1.
Both Dean Crook and Hayden Crossland came into this weekend with a possibility of taking the title if Damon Sterling had an issue, but with that problem for Crossland, it's game, set, match for him.
It was busy looking at the highlights here off the race start. They were 2 and 3 wide off the start, a few of them really trying to force the issue. Sterling got out to the early lead. That was, did we figure out that was who was that?
Bradley Smith.
Bradley Smith going off in the 74 early on. Everything else sort of settled down. But we'll get a look at this. This is Crossland down the inside. Does he get the curb? No, he was well off the curb. And look, if it was just the lightest of touches or the car just got unsettled side by side, Crossland, unable to restart, was towed in, and that brought out the safety car. Back to the restart. Sterling controlled it and held on to a lead he would not lose, chased by Dean in the number 88s. Dean Crook, of course. There was that moment there for Nico French with a little bit of a twitch going on there. He would hold on to third. It looked like Crook was staying there with Sterling, but Sterling just edged away. A tenth a lap, and went out from about 0.4 to nearly a second at the end, taking the checkered flag and another victory here at One Raceway. Doing a very, very good job. I love watching these race cars around here. Sterling with the win from Crook. Nico French in third with Hamish Leighton in the 4th position. Win number 1 for the weekend for the defending series champion Damon Sterling. They're all ready to go down on pit lane, back down to Mel with our top 3 in the Hyper X1s.
Very happy but very tired looking Nico French, another P3.
That was the hardest I've worked in any race ever. That was phenomenal. I can't wait to watch the replay of that because I reckon me and Hayden were less than an inch apart multiple times. That was furious, and keeping up with the guys in front. I mean, the caliber of the drivers that I'm just pedaling to try and hold on to, that was a lot of fun.
Little bit of contact there at one point.
I'm not sure if we actually made contact. I definitely didn't feel anything through the wheel or definitely no car shifting. I'm keen to watch the replay because it was definitely close. I'm not sure whether we were both coming in so tilted that he just braked too much or whether we did make contact. I'm keen to have a look.
Well, it made for exciting TV. 1 to go. Are you going to be able to hold on?
I hope so. I mean, I've got Dean in my sights now, so he better watch his back.
Great stuff.
Well, you better watch out for Nico Hines, Dean Crook, because you're second place in this race, but he's coming for you.
That was intense. That was one of the best races I've had in a decade. I think chasing Damon there, and huge shout out to Nico French. Like, that pace was unbelievable. Same as Nico. I haven't worked that hard in a car for years. Unbelievable.
Well, the first couple of races started off really well for you. What did Damon have to do to get past you on this one?
He just absolutely railed the outside of turn 1. I thought I might have hung on to him, but he just went in so quick. And then once he got that, I couldn't get him back.
All time to get to our winner, Mel.
Damon Sterling, great job there. You just heard Dean's comments about turn 1. I'll give you the chance to reply.
Well, yeah, it was a pretty hard send-up the outside, and I was surprised that it stuck, because I went, you know what, you got to go for it, and it worked. Might not work again, but yeah, it was a good race, and the pace is just insane. Like, you can't lift off. You're always looking in your mirrors, and then it makes you make mistakes because you're looking in your mirrors, so you can't even pull a gap. Like, you just can't. There's nothing you can do.
You did the fastest lap of that race, just a tiny little bit slower than yesterday, and there's 1 to go. It's been a great year for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I've racked up a few points for this weekend, so hopefully I'll win the championship from it. But I'm just loving this track. Like, it's just so much fun. The racing's awesome, and yeah, hopefully the final race is as good as that one.
Yeah, we hope so too. Well done.
Thank you, Mal and Matt. And what I get out of that, Dan, just looking at those interviews, how out of breath those relatively young people are, because it just highlights how physical this place is in these race cars. All right, we're going to cross back down to Mel and Matt. We're going to close off the coverage very, very shortly before we go live later on. We'll cross down to Matt and Mel down on pit lane.
Well, Mel, there's a bit of a buzz of excitement, isn't it, amongst the races, because we can feel these championships are starting to come to an end, and there's points, and we're doing the calculations. It's all going to happen this afternoon.
And there's still nothing decided. You know, everybody, you can feel the energy in the air. It's super exciting.
It's great to have all the races here this weekend for the final round of the Hi-Tec All Super Series. Of course, we are back on track at 1 p.m. with the live coverage, so make sure you get ready for that. Come back and join us at 1 p.m.